Hey, welcome to MotoGP Mac, and it's been a pandemonium weekend. Mac's been doing a hell of a job overseas, patching it in. Can't believe he did such a good job, pal.
I know.
You're looking handsome there with that a patty with a tan.
Patty with a tan, yeah. I'll show you my tan lines later, Jake. Look, it was really good. For those of you who guessed right that there wasn't a hope that I would go a day without doing a video, congratulations. I actually really genuinely intended not to do a video. And walking to the store on Tuesday morning with no video made, I really didn't feel comfortable. So I was like, shit, I'll just put something out there that is current, not thing. So yeah, some kind of awkward conversations in lobbies with people staring at me while I was shooting a video or talking on my phone, holding my phone out, hello.
It's the morning, and I've had 12 beers before this. How you doing, folks?
I know, yeah.
Having some coffee.
No, I must admit, some of the mornings when I was doing it, I was hanging out of my ass, hungover. So, but look,
we could tell. You could see it, pal.
yeah. Well, it was 37, 38 degrees Celsius. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
it was. Joe, I think I've come back to like a 22-degree drop in temperature. So you know what I mean. So look, it's good, but yeah, lots actually going on this week. I was a little bit surprised after the kind of come down from the British Grand Prix. But I suppose for me, one of the main things that's really kicking off, I don't know, did you see Lynn Jarvis's comments about Fabio and Fabio's comments about Yamaha?
Somewhat. I just did that. I just saw that a minute ago, rehashed it in my head.
Yeah. I look like, and I know like in some of the comments, some of the people are saying, Fabio's getting a bit above his station and all of this. And like, look, the crux of it is that all Fabio has said is that when we were in negotiations last year, he gave me a 10-page document that said, this is exactly what we're going to do. And from his understanding of it, that they've got one page done. So basically, all he is saying is that when he throws his leg over the bike at the Misano test at September, the end of September, is it? That this is going to be 95% of what they're going to bring in 2024. And if it's shit, they're not going to get a second chance. So don't come to me with promises halfway through 2024 saying, here's another fucking 10-page document. This is what we're going to do for the next 2 years. That's all he was saying. And for me, he's quite entitled to say this. Like,
and that's what it's been 2 years. It's really been 2 years. They promised him once, and then they promised him again. If you look at it.
And all he has said is that they know, or he knows that he's not going to give them a second chance. And to say it publicly, yes, it's a pretty stark comment to say publicly, but I think at this stage, he doesn't have any choice. Do you know what I mean? He's in a situation similar to Marc Marquez. The bike's not performing. He's not sure that the message is getting to Japan, how badly this is going, and he wants to make sure that he's heard. And the best way to do that is cause a little bit of friction. Now, luckily, Yamaha, while they will clamp down on it, they're not as bad as Honda on the slap on the wrists, right? And let's just say, for instance, and like I've been reading an awful lot about this in recent times, that even within F1, the contracts are not even worth as fucking toilet paper. Do you know what I mean? You have a contract for next year. It doesn't fucking mean you're going to ride that bike next year. Do you know what I mean? Or it doesn't mean you have to ride that bike next year. So, they're not guaranteed to keep Fabio. Jarvis has come out and said, look, we need to deliver realistically. Do you know what I mean? He's fully aware that Honda are already sniffing around Fabio. Do you know what I mean? And he's like, we know that.
You haven't heard that.
Yeah, he knows that Honda are already sniffing around, and that Fabio will be on top of the list for Honda to get. 100%. Any manufacturer would be like,
Yeah.
he is
mean,
out.
when you
he's
say
out
it,
of
you're right. When you say it, you're right, but I did not. But in paper on the websites, I have not yet to see that. I'm surprised. You just brought that up, but just light bulb it off. I have not yet to see that.
Jarvis has come out and admitted that they knows that Honda are going to try and take him the end of 2024. So they know they have to deliver what they're saying they need to deliver. Now, I also think it's quite funny in the whole KTM situation going on. I think that's quite an interesting debacle, right? We now know that Dorna are open to running the fifth bike. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And with Aki Ayo's team, right? For Acosta. And KTM are pushing for the sixth bike, right? And realistically, if they get that sixth bike, I think that's the signed, sealed, and delivered. We're a week out now from the Austrian Grand Prix, right? So KTM, if they're going to be wanting to announce it, it's this week, this Thursday, Friday, Saturday-ish. They're going to want to announce it. So I know, and they've mentioned that they're talking to Dorna every single day to try and get a negotiation done. And for me, I'm thinking, okay, if you look at it right now, okay, let's look at the lead, the people in contention for the championship. There is Pecco, Italian. Jorge Martin, Spanish. Bezzecchi, Italian. So you have the likes of Binder, South African. You have Aleix Espargaro, again, Spanish. You know, so you have a number of people coming up there, but you've no major superstars now anymore towards the front of the grid. And Dorna are going to try and, how would I say, change that very quickly, I believe. And this is where I reckon KTM will have said to the thing that they have a chance to get Marc Marquez back to the front of the grid next season. Do you want to take that? And they'll use that as emotional blackmail on Dorna.
Yes.
Does that make? I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that this is where the negotiation for that sixth seat is going in, because realistically, we now know the fifth seat is fine. It's secure. There's no problem.
Now Dorna would want to have Marc Marquez on a Honda because they have more Honda fanboys. There's the more fans you have, Yamaha and Honda fans they have. They're the most prevalent fans in the stands. So that's why they always bend the rules to them. And that's why they always prevalent. They don't really want Ducati winning. You know what I mean?
They don't, but realistically, they also know that Marquez days are numbered, right? Realistically.
Yeah.
And
you can't do it forever.
Exactly, right? And like
head will give out.
Yeah, but like Rossi was one of those super freaks that probably stayed about 5 seasons too long. You know what I mean? But
it's like boxing. I keep telling you, he didn't take that many hits. You know what I mean?
He didn't. You're right. But look, I just find it interesting what's going to happen. I think this is going to be a really big week for KTM, and if it's going to happen, I think it's going to happen this week. Could be wrong, but that's my gut feeling with their home race in Austria. Now, it could be that Marc Marquez could be saying, I will decide in September when I try next year's Honda.
I think he's done. I think he's done on that. He's had enough.
I personally believe that, like, I just think that his head's not in it, and he just doesn't trust Honda as to get out of this. I think everything that he's been saying is being read off his script, and I just think he's not there. But I suppose the second bit then, Aprilia. This is a really, really, really interesting thing for me, right? Firstly, there is talk about my old buddy Raul Fernandez being dumped out at the end of the season. And how I know this is really good, serious talk is because Razlan immediately came out and said, no, we have an option of 2+2. So he has a 2-year contract with an option for another 2 years. But but the performance isn't there, right? It's worse than Morbidelli's performance on a works bike, right? And he is battling with the likes of Morbidelli and the rest of the back markers, I would call them back markers. They're biting no means back markers in national championships or other categories,
Right.
but in MotoGP they are back markers. And look, I just don't see it. He was very good in Moto 2. I just don't see it anymore, and I think he's another Pol Espargaro. I think he's a nearly man, but he's not at that level. And realistically, we've talked about this for ages. Aprilia, in my view, are as good or not more innovative than Ducati, right?
Yeah.
Like,
we don't know how close they are. We really don't know how close they are until they get a better rider.
Well, I actually think, right, and this you laugh at this.
No, I won't. Trust me.
I actually think Aprilia have a chance to prove themselves as a better engineering.
Yep. Or at least on par.
A better engineering manufacturer than Ducati, because I believe in Austria they're going to run the carbon chassis.
Whoa, okay. You're talking about an all-carbon chassis? You think they came out with the old Monaco chassis?
They've tested a fully carbon chassis.
Monocoque chassis. Or is it?
No, it's not a monocoque chassis. It is like literally the frame rails are carbon.
Now, I always wonder that. You know something? I looked at all the test bikes and all that. That's why you get the 15 years and all that. I know who's won all that. You look at the BMW S1000RR, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had a S1000RR HP4 that was all carbon chassis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be goddamn if I could ever get a comparison. They never ran a comparison between that and their regular bike.
Yeah, but
with all the hype and all the thing, now it's the greatest thing in the world. But you never got a comparison.
But the HP4 race was only a race bike.
But I was saying, even though it was just a race bike, I wanted to see some kind of facts and figures. What did it do running a lap time against a regular bike?
But Lorenzo Salvadori had the fully carbon chassis bike out. Now, he did say it wasn't ready to race for Silverstone, but I have a feeling that they could be bringing that very soon. And if they make that bike work, they solve the carbon fiber chassis problem.
No, well, the carbon fiber chassis is so it can be adjusted better from corner to corner. It's for setup because they already can run underneath the weight limit.
I know that, but that's exactly what I'm saying. Is that if they can solve that picture, it will put them into a massive frame. And with our boy Raul, realistically, he's not at the races, right? He is far behind the other riders on a proven bike.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that bike is, and like this is why I compare him directly to Augusto Fernandez, because I'm in my view I'm being fair to him. I'm saying, okay, right off the previous year on the KTM, the bike wasn't great. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so now you're on the Aprilia. It's a new bike to you, but that bike was a front-running bike last year. That was one of Aleix Espargaro's or Maverick Vinales' bikes last year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That is a good base. You then have Augusto, who's on a KTM. That is vastly different from last year. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And he's putting in good results. So I would use the two of them as a comparison to say, okay, look, they're both young and dumb. Do you know what I mean? They're both supposed to be throwing it up the road a lot. And so I think there's a good benchmark because, okay, Augusto is the only rookie, but for me, when I look at it, it's just like, who do you benchmark him off? Well, you benchmark him off one of last year's rookies, right? Can you benchmark him off someone on the Ducati? You can't. If they're not on the Ducati, you can't benchmark them,
right? It's apples and oranges.
Because it's apples and oranges. But what you can look at, say, and what we can, in my view, what we can say this year is that the Aprilia bike is a good bike from last year, and this year's KTM is a good bike. Or gas, whichever way you want to go.
Yeah, whatever.
So, for me, it's a clear head-to-head that we can use in them. And, like, I personally think that Raul is losing that battle. Do you know what I mean? And
Yes.
We both agree that we both agree that Aprilia need the Alien. Do you know what I mean?
But
Maverick
they
is
do
not.
make the best chassis forever. They've made the best chassis, even way back when. As soon as they came out with a full the aluminum chassis, they made the best chassis on the market, bar none.
They do, but my point here is more so is that there could be a space in Aprilia open up this year for an Alien, or like next year, like this time next year, silly season is going to be absolutely fucking crazy. You do realize that, right? Everyone is out of contract the end of 2024. Well, majority of people. So, like when you look at it, it's just going to be absolutely
crazy,
nuts.
Oh, but can you see the storyline behind the backstory of Marc Marquez coming back on the tiny company of Aprilia? You know, the little Italian factory company that, the little engine that could, and winning a title. Christ, that would be that's a Netflix movie, for Christ's sake.
It is, but okay, like Aprilia is a small company, right? But it is similar size, in my view, to the likes of Ducati and KTM, right? Because the money that is in that group is fucking astronomical. Do you know what I mean? It is astronomical. That
the Chinese group,
it's not Chinese. I had to look into that. It is actually mainly Italian. For the
it's mainly Italian. I thought it was. I've read it's Chinese. Matter of fact, I was looking to see if it was.
No, it's not. It's definitely not Chinese.
What's the one that's behind Benelli? QL, QL.
I don't know. I don't know. But no, look, because I looked into it because I was trying to figure out budgets, right? And a small budget team like KTM is 70 million, right? So they're putting in I think Aprilia are sinking about 100 to 120 million a year into MotoGP.
That sounds a lot.
But you do not have to remember that Aprilia are funding the RNF team right now. The RNF team are
I know they are.
So I figured
that even doing the RNF team, I bet you they're roughly 40, if that.
Yeah, no, I think they're much higher. Like KTM and Aprilia, like that, the innovation that Aprilia come out with, that's an awful lot of R&D and expense, massive.
But they're just damn good at it. Them little Italians are working their ass off.
They are, but look again.
Luigi busting his ass 24/7.
Well, Luigi is Ducati, isn't he? But no, look, I just think it's really interesting. But I think they don't have any team nowadays. Don't have much change from between $70 million and $100 million or whatever a year on to run it. And I think
it's all in the Wall Street Journal, and they're never wrong. And I remember they said that the Japanese, that's what I always get, are 300% more. They were talking about this, and they were saying their Japanese are 300% bigger budgets than their European counterparts, and they're getting their ass handed to them.
But look, they would have massively more budgets, right? But we now see from the Japanese method of development is there's a lot of waste in the whole process of it, right? So Aprilia, Ducati, KTM, they would build a plastic bolt that they need a plastic bolt, do you know what I mean? And they'd use a plastic bolt. Whereas the Japanese would make sure that they would build a plastic bolt, make a mold of it, and then build a metal bolt for no particular reason, just that it should be metal. And that's kind of where it is. So they're like they're adding extra processes into it. And look, this is the Japanese way that we know. They do a lot more due diligence on parts and development and all of this, and they're, in my view, they're far behind in what is now the standard racing is testing sort of phenomenon or symptom, right? And like this is why it's killing Yamaha this year. Like they have fucking no data, none. Do you know what I mean? Because it's only 2 bikes. Do you know what I mean? So they have nothing that they can test. Now, I suppose on the thing of testing, and the fans will be delighted to know that Watanabe had another interview during the week, and he said there is absolutely zero chance that Honda will pull out of the championship.
Oh no, it was in Mr. Honda's corporate
But
will.
HRC, yeah. So it was like, but there is no chance that they were going to go, because I know there's an awful lot of rumors of saying Honda are so far behind now. So what's the point in trying to catch up?
They can't pull out of racing. Mr. Honda had it because he thought that they were going to pull out of racing as soon as he died, and he said because the cars is turning into a car company. He was not happy before he died, and he said, I made sure that I turned this into. They could not shut the racing down. They could not shut my HRC down, because he used to go down there at a minimum 1 to 2 hours every day to check out what was going on. He was an avid racer. He was a true. That's when Honda was good. You know.
Well, look, listen. They didn't have a bad result in the Suzuki 8 Hours either. Do you know what I mean? They had a 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I know one of them got disqualified for fuel tank size capacity or something, but you know, I do think Honda, everything will kind of wake up in Japan now that the 8 Hours is over. Do you know what I mean? And they get back to work on the bikes. Now, Watanabe was talking more about, you know, kind of like the structure and Marc Marquez, and he's like, look, we can't. Again, he was saying, look, we've had a few conversations with Mark. Do you know what I mean? We need to give him the bike to win immediately. Do you know what I mean? We can't guarantee him. Do you know, we have a team working on this year's bike and next year's bike. Do you know? But look, realistically, you know, they're going to have to prove something fucking pretty special to keep him. That's just my view. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to fall for words or promises or whatever. And like, I genuinely think in Mugello, when he met Watanabe, or was it higher? I think it was one higher than Watanabe. That conversation didn't go well. Then he crashed, and you could see him visibly giving out. And then the next week he had the Saxon ring, wasn't it? And giving the bike the middle finger. I think that was one of it. And the bike, the bike trying to kill him then at every single corner. I think has kind of put it in. But looking at the whole,
when he let Martin pass him, and he just went behind him. That I've never seen him. That was just not him. That's how he looked at me and said he's giving up the ghost right there.
So yeah, so look, I read that too first when I read it, I was like, that's not Marquez, right? Like, you wouldn't, even if it is for fucking 17th and 18th place, you never let your team.
No, he's not going to go ahead. Yeah.
Rule number one, like, or like you put a dirty pass and pass him again on the last lap. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and the stuff that he was saying, so I let Mir pass so I could have a look at the bike and try and get an understanding of what's going on. Now, firstly, Mir rides in a completely different fucking way than he does, right? You know, Mir is not nearly aggressive. Mir doesn't like the bike bouncing, and Joe, like Mark can just cope with, right? So I don't see the logic in that. I genuinely believe that he was in trouble, and Mir was Mir, and he might not have been as fast as Mark all race, but you know, he was able to do a consistent lap time where Mark's was up and down, and he caught Mark. Or Mark had problems with his front tire pressures. Do you know what I mean? Or something like that. But what I thought was kind of a bit weird was when you look at the whole Honda situation, like, they haven't scored points in any Sunday race this season.
And it's kidding around. This Honda's backslipping going down the hill, the house of the setting sun. It's getting around into the general public. Right? Mm-hmm. On the news, everything. The people aren't trusting their products anymore. The CBR 1000 RRR has been the biggest. That's been their Edsel. It's a lemon, and people know it. People aren't buying their bikes because they don't trust them anymore. We always have the old timers, or the fanboys. They'll, if that's square wheels, they buy it. You know what I mean? But
yeah, but look, I think look, if your brand is Honda, your brand is Honda. Your brand is Yamaha, your brand is Yamaha, right? And you'll naturally gravitate towards that. But I just think when you see Mark letting Mir passed him. Then you hear Mir saying, "Well, I actually contemplated retiring over the summer break." You're like, this is another fucking Lorenzo or the fucking. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, and all the old MotoGP guys had Marco Lucinelli and Doohan and everyone you can think of are telling Marquez to leave Honda. You don't watch the other websites coming out. They're all saying leave, leave, leave. It's like a pandemonium of what he's going to do and where he should go.
Well, yeah, but look, if you look at Mark's career right now, right, I don't believe he'll ever get back to the old Marc Marquez, right? I think that the crashes, the trauma.
I think he can do a couple of years. He's only 30 years old, 31 years old.
Yeah, but he probably has 2 or 3 years max left in him, right? So he needs.
I'm not saying he has a dozen. That's going to catch up to him. His head's starting to go. You know that.
Yeah, but like he's 2 or 3 competitive seasons left. That's the way I would put it, right? If he puts that into another year riding around with a Honda towards the back of the grid, yes, there will be still a queue of people wanting to put Marc Marquez on their bike. It's the exact same with Fabio. Do you know what I mean? Their results this year on the Honda and Yamaha won't matter. Joe, they've proven where they are, right? But I suppose for me, it's like Fabio has a longer timeline in MotoGP than Marc Marquez does. So Marc's next move has to be right to battle for a championship.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Fabio's not necessarily. Do you know what I mean? He could stay with Yamaha.
Problem with Fabio is he needs the money.
Yeah, look, I believe he's all right for money, but everyone needs money. Like the more you have, the more you spend.
Yeah, but the way I still think he spends money like water.
Yeah, but look,
the guy has like five. Every car in her mother. He has Lamborghinis and Ferraris and a $10 million house and a private airplane, which ain't cheap. Let me tell you, them Lear jets. His lifestyle is like ungodly. I mean, he's not that old. He hasn't been around that long.
He's what, is he 25, 26?
25, 26. I mean, they found him and he came out and got his first.
One second. No, you have $20 million and you're fucking 25, 26. Of course, what are you doing? You're pissing it up against the wall. You're buying stupid fucking shit and whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, he don't know any better. He's already has $30 million in debt. Yeah. You know what I mean? After the first day, you know.
Yeah. But look, listen, I am pretty sure, Joe, in a couple of years' time, he'll be switched on and he'll do it. Like look at Jorge Lorenzo, very similar sort of dude. Wasn't as flamboyant as thing, but when he stopped racing, he got very, very cute about his money. You know what I mean? Very cute about it. So, look, I think that'll naturally come. I think he's being.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying for this right now, here and now, he needs money. You get what I'm saying?
I don't think so. I think he needs the championship. I think. How would I put it to you this way, right?
It's a tough call because he needs the championship to keep the image going to get the money.
No, I think it's a little bit more deeper than that. You know, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah,
right.
Stole that.
Right. Yeah. He won world championship.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a proper world championship till you do it again.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Because, like, I know there was some discussion on the chats about Mir, and listen, at the end of the day, he was a world champion. He scored the most points at the end of the season. Was he outstanding throughout the season? No, but he was a boring, consistent rider that picked.
But he didn't even get pole positions, right? He like fell into that. He backed into it. Other guys,
but that's what I'm saying.
Luck gave him that championship. It wasn't him. He didn't win it.
That's what I'm saying. The second championship legitimizes you as one of those riders.
Yeah.
And Fabio does not have that yet.
And he doesn't have fan appeal either. Mir.
Well, no, look, Mir is actually quite popular in Spain, to be fair.
Oh, well,
but
Spain.
No, he's not as popular as Rins or Marquez. But look again. Let's wait and see. But for me, I would think Fabio. He's more worried right now about claiming that second or third championship and legitimizing himself as a goat or a great than money, I think. So he has a luxury of time where Marquez doesn't have that luxury. So like realistically, Mark needs to get on to the KTM, Aprilia, or a Ducati. So what I mean, he doesn't have time to go to Yamaha. Now it was good to see Marquez and Fabio having a little bit of a skit saying, "I'll take your ride." I think something about the Yamaha. I can't remember. I couldn't translate it. But they were having a little over and back, I think, on Twitter about Yamaha and Honda. Do you know what I mean? They're swapping bikes and all of this stuff. But
but do you think? I mean, put yourself in Fabio's boots. Okay, he's just went a couple years of getting smoke blown up his ass, right, by Yamaha, telling him the bike's going to get better, right? Then he looks over at the Honda, which is by far the worst bike in MotoGP, has the weakest engineering in MotoGP, right? I mean, Yamaha went the wrong direction, but they're a stronger engineering team than Honda. They always have been, right?
Yeah.
You want to go there? You know what I mean? That's a big leap of faith.
It is, right? But
that's a wish in one hand, shit in the other, more or less.
Yeah, but here's where I think it right. If he was getting off the Yamaha this year, which I don't think he will do, and go to Honda, that's a big leap of faith.
Yeah,
for me, where Honda is now, look, I don't think that's going to happen this year.
I hope he stays in Yamaha, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but look, I don't know. I think look, we know that Gigi has said you have my number. We're ready when you are, right? You have the likes of Aprilia that would happily take Fabio tomorrow morning. I don't think KTM would. I don't think he's. You
haven't heard about it. You haven't heard anybody them asking, putting anything out about him either. There's nobody locking them two up. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think he's KTM-esque. Do you know what I mean? You kind of have to be a little bit fucking demented to ride the KTM. Like Brad Binder, lunatic, just complete fucking nuts, right? you know, Jack Miller, again, demented fucking lunatic. Do you know what I mean? He's just crazy.
But it's been handling, right? It's been doing some great handling.
It has a hinge in the middle, which I don't think Fabio would like.
It's old tech. Let's face it. It's not kidding anybody.
It's not. But look, it's just. I think you have to be able to remove the brain to ride the KTM, right? And who is one of the best people to take out the brain and go for a lap? And you have that's Marc Marquez, right? That is Marc Marquez, right? Just remove the brain.
He don't have the brain to put in. He ain't the breaker's bulb in the box. Let's not kid anybody. I mean?
And off you go and just go. Forget about consequences. And this is why Jack Miller is quite good. As well at the qualified. Like he just takes out the brain. It's like, all right, we go for a fast lap. That's fucking it. So look, for me, I think in 2024, I think if Mark doesn't move this year from Honda, the main two people realistically who will be the linchpins of the 2024 silly season will be Mark and Fabio, because I believe all manufacturers will be talking to both. And wherever they settle, everyone else will fall in behind it. But like realistically, I think personally, if I was to put Fabio on a different bike next year, or for the 2025 season, it would be the Aprilia. I think that's the kind of environment.
I was going to say the same thing. The environment, they'd get this like shit in a warehouse blanket in there. He'd love it in there.
Yeah. Now look, I personally don't like Rivola management style. Like I've seen an awful lot of whinging and complaining about Ducati, and like
that pissed me off, by the way.
What about the concessions?
And I don't care if they're Japanese or anything. Nobody should get concessions when they don't deserve it.
Well, look, the concessions thing is one thing, right? And like Rivola did say something about him. He said, "Look, in 2 years' time or 3 years' time, it could technically be Aprilia in problems, right? Just say in problems lost, right? And like Ducati and Aprilia are kind of, I won't say open to them, but they will have the conversation, but it has to be beneficial for everyone, right? Not just Honda and Yamaha. Now, KTM are like, no,
yeah,
just
screw you.
It's not going to happen. You know, we had to fucking drag ourselves up by our thing.
Yeah, screw you, and everybody looks like you. How's that?
Yeah, and so you need to do this yourselves. Do you know what I mean? They have the time, they have the budget.
Realistic. The Japanese have a 300% budget over the 3% more greater budget than the Europeans. That's a big enough advantage right there, right?
Yeah.
Now, we say, well, they need more time because everybody needs more time.
But
right?
everyone. But let's go back to we discussed Yamaha and say the V4, right?
Okay.
They can go away and get a set of Michelin slicks, right? And they can, right? They can go away and get just a normal set of Michelin slicks that anyone can buy over the counter, competition slicks, right? And they can take their M1 out, and they can start developing, the drivability of the V4. They can do all of this, all they fucking want to over in Japan. Do you know what I mean? They can test every fucking day of the week if they want to, right? The only thing is they can't test on MotoGP rubber, right? So my point of view on this is that if they went away and developed a brand new V4 engine, they could develop a chassis and whatever. They can absolutely 110% do a calibration every 6 or 8 weeks with that bike. And here's what I mean is that they could find a set of Michelin slicks that would be similar in characteristics with the race slicks, okay? And they could put 100,000 miles on the fucking engine over the course of the year, right? But every so often, they could bring that V4 to a private, closed test where no cameras, no journalists, no nothing, right? And they can run it on MotoGP rubber, right?
Yeah, Michelin, matter of fact, the guy from Michelin said that they could not do such a thing. I was just reading that about 2 weeks ago.
No, they can't.
Because the Michelin, the MotoGP tires are literally 10 times harder than a regular tire.
That's why I said about the Michelin slicks is the competition slicks, which are harder than the road tires.
Yeah, but they said they were specifically like they're way harder than everything else.
But you're talking now chalk and cheese, right? Because you're talking about a road tire to a competition tire.
That's what I say. How would you replace the
but you're not running. They would not be running on road tires. They would be running on competition tires, just not the compounds that they use in MotoGP, right? But what my point here is that you can get a compound that would be similar or close to the MotoGP compound. You can use that tire to do your development in your private test. So, like, for example, all this year in the private tests, they could run a V4 on MotoGP rubber because that's part of their allocation of tires that they're using. So what I mean by this is that they could correlate their data. So they say, okay, we believe this is the setup on the standard competition slicks, right?
Yeah.
They could run that setting on the MotoGP rubber and get an understanding how far their calibrations are off. Right. Technically, you can do it.
I know what you're saying. So, but that's like I was saying. They can't get you can't get your hands on tires close enough to the MotoGP tires to make it relevant.
You can though. You can get, but like they won't last long. Do you know what I mean? Like those road tires putting that horsepower.
I'm just telling you what I read. Just telling you what I read.
I read the article where they were talking about it, and they were just saying that it was based on road tires. They're 10 times harder than road tires. Yeah, because they get up there. I know that's right. But look, you can go away there and you can buy a set of Michelin slick tires. Do you know what I mean? like but they're for competition use only. Do you know what I mean? So again, they will be harder, they will be stiffer. Do you know what I mean? They're designed for racing, and you can use that compound and then test, and you can find your correlation.
Wear out fast to begin with if you ever get track day tires, but anyway.
But yeah, but you could build your correlation off of that. So you could literally do a day's testing on it before. So for me, when I'm looking at it, like Honda's next year bike, like Marquez says, it doesn't accelerate fast enough. They can test everything they want for next year's engine, all they want. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just not on the rubber. So for me, and I think this is where I think Ducati and them are very astute, is that when they're doing their testing, it's a very specific test that they're doing, right? And they're controlling the correlations between the wind tunnel, you know, the engineering department. And we have to remember is that the Japanese at the moment haven't a fucking clue on the aerodynamics, right? And so there's no correlation. Like you see, like Taka said that he did like the new style aero, and he's going to stick with it and trying to test it and get an understanding of it. Joe, there is benefits to it, but that's again,
that your news of Aston Martin was Honda's a big news for Honda. That just went everybody else over everyone else's head. About the Aston Martin, they put up that new facility, which is bigger than anyone else.
Amazing.
Right.
Yeah, it's an amazing.
And if Honda gets used to that, that's a big plus.
They will, because look, the other side of the coin is, right, Formula One teams, and I think this has worked quite well, except for the times when they break it, right? But they've put in a budget cap of 150 million a year, and they put in a budget cap of, let's just say, X amount of hours in the wind tunnel. And they put in a budget cap of X amount of simulations on CFD that you can do, okay, in the year. So realistically, they're tightening down on that. But what that then does mean is that these massive, expensive machines are lying idle for X amount of days throughout the year. So you have the likes of Honda, you have the likes of Red Bull, who all have this. You have Aston Martin, you have Red Bull, you know, you have Ferrari, you have whatever. All these people that have these equipment that are there, they have the engineers there because, look, we can either get rid of them or we can put them on your project. Like if you saw, and like obviously I was away after the British Grand Prix, but the level of detail and the difference between the side pod that the Aprilia has compared to the other one, you can see where they're really, really, really sucking that bike to the ground in the corner, especially in the fast corners. It's brilliant, and I'd probably do a video sometime during the week on it. But look, I was looking at it and I was just like, fucking hell, like, Joe, how do they even think of that stuff? Do you know what I mean? But again, it is all of this. It's development. It's smart people from the Formula One areas are going to come in now, and I can tell you, like, Joe, CFD designers and all of this, they're all now going to be an integral part of the cog in building a fucking bike. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's, for me, I think it's pretty scary. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't want MotoGP to go the way of Formula One, where there was, I won't call it turbulence, but how would I say is that, I don't know if you ever saw in Formula One, right? But if you got to a second behind the car in front of you, right, the dirty air or the disturbed air from the car in front would cause you to lose downforce behind them. Okay. So what would happen is, like, if you were rolling through a corner, you wouldn't be able to go through the corner because of the dirty air from behind the car in front of you, because you'd have less downforce, or that the air is not hitting the car in the optimal way, right? So basically what was happening was that cars were stagnating a second or second and a half behind each other, and they couldn't pass. And That's my fear in MotoGP.
But they're so far off. You know, I have relatives that are all.
Jake, 5 years ago, 5 years ago, there wasn't a fucking wing. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I know. But this is their business. And they are aerospace engineers, and they're going, they're so far off. They got to be 15 years off, they said, before they even thought about going up there. They're so far off. Just because a bike has to lean. Because the minute if they put gyroscopes on the bike where they don't have to lean, right? And that thing's laying flat, you can do that with a bike, right? He says then they can go into it. Mm-hmm. Then they can make it, that aerodynamics work. But without that, as soon as that bike as long as that thing has to lean, the turn, it puts the stopping them dead in the air. It's just limiting them.
It does, but look, again, it's just I want a rider to throw his leg over the bike. Like, did you see Pecco and again, this is one of the things.
Leg over, and this is the closest racing we've ever had.
Pecco got his fucking foot caught in the arrow of the Stegosaurus wings trying to get off the bike the other day. Do you know what I mean? And
that's just being freaking clumszy. We've all done that.
Yeah, but that sort of shit fucking bugs me. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, now look, we
bugged you. His toe hit the thing on the back.
No. He got proper stuck in it. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't just like he just like tagged it. Like, he actually had to get a mechanic to lift his fucking leg up to get him off the bike. That shit bugs.
He's tired. You're just blowing.
Fuck off, will you? Fuck off.
Yeah, you're blowing smoke. You've had one too many pints.
I'll go in there and I'll fucking spoon feed him his fucking lunch, will I? Here you go, little boy. Look, eat up. Yeah. But no, look, it did. But that's my fear, is that the riders won't be able to get on and off the fucking bikes because the bikes will become so delicate.
We'll be old and dead before that happens, pal.
Oh no, man, that's fucking coming.
But I'll tell you what, I've been around this game a long time. What doesn't work is slowing the bikes down, right? They've tried that 8 different ways till Sunday. Either slowing you up in the corners, and if they slow up in the corners, then they go faster in the straights. If they do faster in the straights and it's slow in the corners, remember the 800cc bikes. The only thing that works is expanding the track, right?
Yeah.
And making the bikes go around the corners faster and make them handle better. And to make them handle better, you go with the electronics and aerodynamics. It's the best. Yeah. It's the best way to go.
We have a difference of opinion on that. Like, because I believe that if you stop the bikes accelerating as fast out of the corners, they won't hit the top speed. To get into
every engineer in MotoGP says the same thing. I'm just repeating what they're saying.
Look
at Simon. Simon Crafar was going what used to be the same way, and then he wrote. He said they have to have it. You know,
they do. But look, that is on the table to be removed, right? The aerodynamics.
If you remove it, they're not going to remove it. They already said they're not removing it. And if they go to remove it, you'll have blood and guts all over the place.
It's still on the table to be removed for the 2027 regulations.
They didn't say they're about to remove it. They said they're talking about they're not going to let it expand more.
Nope, remove it. 100%. I'll send you the article in a minute.
You better send me that article. I'll piss all over it.
Yeah, but no,
that's stupidity. Well, I'm storing it. They can do stuff.
Yeah, but no, look, I think. Yeah, look, I think there is some areas.
That's like I remember Dorna said one of the things for safety was to put a moratorium on tire adhesion. They're going to make the tires slippery and say they can't adhere anymore.
Well, I used to use it when I was racing go-karts, an adjective that you could put into your tires.
Yeah.
When you're going for qualifying, it's called hot laps. Oh fuck. The difference that made to your tires. Woo!
What is it?
It would just make them more sticky, so that when you were going out for your qualifying lap,
you put it on the outside of the tire. You said, right?
The outside, yeah. Sometimes you paint it on, and paint it on the inside as well. But if you're a really dirty bastard, you painted it on the inside. But you painted it on the outside. But I think it took about 7 or 8 races for that to be banned, because like. You couldn't use the tires for so like you're going out to qualify. So you would use it on a set of tires that was only a lap or 2 old, so it just had the fresh molding run off it. You bring it back in, and while it's still hot, you with a paintbrush put this stuff onto it. and you just leave it cool down naturally. But the tires then had to cool fully. The next time that you went out, like literally immediately, the tires were switched on. So you were able then to absolutely fucking nail your hot lap. Do you know what I mean? But you had only one lap. And destroy the
by the way, are you talking about when they're talking about removing something? They're talking about the ride height in the rear ride height. Yeah, but they don't know if that's. I did read again on that, and we're talking about adding electronics for difference of that. You know that?
Yeah, look, there's nothing.
In American road racing, they'll switch it back to the active suspension, which would be better than the.
Yeah, that hasn't. I haven't heard that personally. I've heard that, and it's still so vague that the MSA and IRTA and all of that, they haven't even agreed on what it is. They
shouldn't have taken it away in the first place. That was the dumb craze. We have it on our road bikes. I mean, it's a better system. The active suspension is a better system than the ride height. But in this case, we're going so fast, Christ, you need both.
Yeah,
it's not a question of. It's not a question of want. Now it's a question of need because you're going 300 mile an hour, or 250 mile an hour.
Yeah, but that's my point, though, right? If you come out of the corner with ride height, okay, just with ride height, you're getting the perfect acceleration or as near perfect acceleration, or the bike is in near perfect position to accelerate as hard as possible. Mm-hmm. And that's why you get up to the 300 kilometers an hour. I would love to see a current MotoGP bike come out without and with rear ride height and see is there a top speed difference at the end of the straight.
And so then you have the danger of the wheel spin. But anyhow, and it tears up the tires, and then the other problems you get along with that, and heat.
And that's
they already have heat problems with the tires.
That's why they're
it goes on and on. That's the problem, and you lose stability when you're going in. There's the problem.
That's why they're the best riders in the world.
Yeah, that's the heat. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Their head, their arse, and their wrist all top. Their head, their arse, and their wrist all top of one go.
Their heads splattered across the pavement too. And when they just can't, they don't have reflexes like an ape.
Yeah. Yeah. So get faster.
You're going to kill them for Christ's sake. It's not a question of want; it's a question of need.
Yeah. But listen, I will come out of a corner, and if I can plant my foot and let the electronics all take over it, I'll come out as fast as fucking possible. But if I if I have to control it, well then I'm thinking a little bit more coming out of the corner. Listen, look, it's all the same, right? Like they said it, they did it in Formula 1. They took off ABS and all this, and people were going, people are going to fucking die and this, that, and the other. It didn't. Do you know what I mean? People had to be careful coming into the braking zones. People had to be careful.
Yeah, but there's a difference between ABS and what we're talking about now.
Well, no, because they got rid of active suspension in 1994 from Formula 1. Williams had the absolute perfect car in 1994. Look it up, the FW14. Oh my, no, sorry, 1993, sorry. The car would pitch to the perfect angle per corner. So the driver literally could gain massive amount of time, and they banned it. It was all based off Olin suspension, actually, and Williams Advanced Engineering was whatever.
Ooh, but we'll put that to the bikes.
That's But that's where they're getting to. That's why I think active suspension won't come in, is because you will be able to set your bike per corner,
which will make it go around the corner safer. Because I think that's the only thing
until it goes wrong.
What?
Until it goes wrong.
Yeah, anything you can say until it goes wrong. Yeah, the brakes are great until they go wrong, so we won't put them on. Yeah, come on.
But like even in the
we'll get rid
of current state. We've seen it a few times. I've seen it a few times where the riders come along and said the bike got lost, the GPS got fucking screwed up. I believe I was on the straight when I was in a corner. I believe I was in the corner, or I believe I was in the corner on the straight.
Yeah, but that's these things, you can't say there's nothing. It's a mechanical device.
But
they all have a chance to break. That's like saying we're not going to go with ceramic brakes anymore. We're going to go back to the iron ones because now I won't go as fast because I don't feel as, you know.
Yeah, but look, it's just different ways of looking at it. Like for me, if a bike's not coming out of the corner as fast, it's not going to go into a corner as fast.
That's all you old bastards think. Your reflexes are gone. You old bastards can't thinking it's going too quick on you.
No, I just no. Look,
it's the way it used to be when the men were men and the sheep were scared.
Exactly. It was proper fucking riders where you were responsible. If you ended up in your fucking head, it was 99% your fault.
Yeah, but the problem is
now we hear the electronic. I don't know. I pinned the throttle. So it's like,
but you have one guy on his head versus 10 guys because
Listen. It's just like a child when they're young, right? And they're walking on top of a wall, and you tell them you're going to fall, get off, and they don't listen. Very Irish saying here is they'll fall once.
Okay. And who here loves the two strokes from 1975?
I do.
See? There you go.
Yeah.
Old guy. Grandpa.
But, grandpa. But I'm not saying get rid of the traction control. I'm not saying getting rid of the electronics or whatever. I'm just saying if a bike, and which the teams are even saying, is that there's talk that they're going to get rid of rear ride height device. And I'm saying it's not a bad thing.
It's a bad thing if there's nothing to replace it at the speeds that they have and the horsepower that they have. You can't have your cake and eat it too. It's like, remember when we went with Simon, we said we had Simon on. You can't have your cake and eat it.
No. And look, I will say one thing about Simon, Jake, right? We asked Simon, would you take this year's GP22 at the time or next year's GP23? And he said, GP23. Simon always likes the latest thing regardless, right? So if the latest thing had fucking winglets that turned inside out or
he didn't. He's a converter because he didn't want it at first. I can tell you that. He was a big against
but he's what he said it and he said it made a massive difference. But he did say it made a massive difference. But if everyone has to get it removed, then it's a level playing field. And remember, it's the teams, IORTA and Dorna, that are going to decide this. Do you know what I mean? The team's going to have to agree, yes, we're going to remove it or not. If they replace it with something, I think they will, but what is it? I don't know. It's like the aerodynamics that
there's actually, at this point, though, the rear ride height, they've gotten it down to where it's not breaking or, they've gotten it down, they refined it. You put all the money into it already. You might as well just leave it there, for God's sake.
But look, I suppose isn't that the evolution? Like when you look at it, like where are the GP1s now? Do you know what I mean? They put fucking millions, or GP21s now, right? They put millions into the development, and they're probably sitting in a fucking storage shed somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're at Audi in the hallways.
They probably are. They're probably in sponsors' places. But I suppose my kind of point is that there is a development cycle or limit for many, many parts and things like, do you know what I mean?
Oh, by the way, little tidbit here. Did you see? Remember I said the Chinese are coming? Now you got CF Moto wants to get into racing, right?
Yep, they're in Moto 2, aren't they?
A V4, 1000cc V4 for CF Moto.
Who are?
KTM is making a V4 1000cc bike.
Did you see the 880cc thing that I sent you, or 990 or whatever?
Yeah. I saw the over godly expensive parallel twin. The KTM.
Yeah. No, look, I think KTM have a V4 on the way for next year, I believe, as well. So it will be interesting to see will they go to World Superbikes as well.
But they said they're building that for CF Moto. Now they build that's for CF Moto to go Superbike racing.
All right, okay.
They're going into racing. The CF Moto already has series
Moto
racing.
2. They're in Moto 2.
CF Moto, not the Chinese company, CF Moto. In England, they have cup races for the CF Moto 650s. Great, it's your country.
Wrong country, kid.
Oh, sorry, close enough.
Yeah.
England has it.
Yeah. No, England don't have a CF Moto championship. They have a 650 championship. Which is 660 now. 700 actually.
No,
Yeah.
look at 44 teeth is how I know it came in. They ran it.
Yeah, there's a super twin class is what it's called, as long as it's a twin engine.
Yeah.
650 or 650.
They had it as a CF Moto class.
No,
you
I
sure?
don't think it is. I was watching the Superbikes this afternoon. I didn't see it, but look, could be there. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what KTM will do next year with their. I believe they were building it for one for themselves as well, because it does look kind of stupid is that they don't have a superbike, a proper superbike, and
I know.
funneling all this money into road racing.
Well, that's where the MV comes in as a nice add-in, because it's a sport bike company that's a boutique company. It's an add-on anyway, but they still should have their own,
Yeah, like Look, it's like Volvo and Ford and all of that. You know what I mean? The brands don't really mix in that line of, okay, if you're out there with KTM and GasGas, like GasGas don't have a road racing.
No, they have scooters.
No, and like over here, GasGas would be more so known for scramblers and what's the name?
Oh, like a dirt bike.
Dirt bikes and what's the trials bikes? Do you know?
Oh, okay. Yes, that's right. Trials bike. That's for you.
So look, it's kind of a thing, and like KTM's then would be motocross mainly over here, and whatever Dakar.
Oh, and Benelli bought the rights from MV, the old F4 1000, their Generation 1, which I would not trust in a million years, because MV spent 12 hours to build an engine. I don't think that Benelli is going to spend that 12 hours to make. No. That's going to be a 2 hour engine, just like everybody else. It's going to come apart.
Yeah. It's like the Indian Royal Enfield, you know.
Yeah.
It's not a Royal Enfield. But yeah, look, I think next week, I suppose we have. Next week is Austria, isn't it?
Austrian.
Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens throughout the week with that.
Who's favored for that one? God,
it has to be a Ducati. It has to be a Ducati. It has to be a Ducati. Like I think Martin has to answer. He needs to answer this weekend. That's just my view. Like again, Aleix did put Aleix's move, to be honest, was really, really good in Silverstone, and he will have a lot of confidence. Just not sure whether the track will suit him.
And pray for some dry weather.
It's pissing rain here right now.
You're kidding me. It seems like the races have been pissing. You never know if we're going to have a dry race or a wet race.
But normally the rain makes things a little bit exciting, because the wood's like,
oh, screw that. Yeah.
I love the rain, to be honest. Love racing in the wet. But yeah, look, I think it'll be pretty interesting. Now it's not my favorite circuit either. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit. Now it's better. The bikes are better there than the cars. Do you know what I mean? Because I think the cars run around there like in 1 minute something. It's not so, but it's a bit of a more challenge for the bikes. Then you have that stupid chicane, which I don't like.
Is that where they changed the chicane last year?
Yeah.
That stupid thing. That where it's like a crisscross.
No. Fabio out accelerated a Ducati on the Yamaha. Jack Miller on the Yamaha. I don't know. Which I was literally.
Yeah, but he went in there. Didn't he go in like hellacious deep?
Yeah. And like he ran Jack out a road as well, so Jack had to get off it. But look, it'll definitely be a good race. I won't complain that I don't like it there, because we've just had like 5 weeks with no racing, so I'll take two fucking flies running up a wall. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there for this week.
Yeah.
All right.
Good show. Damn good show.
Yeah. Happy out. And so look, we'll wrap it up, and we'll talk again after the Austrian Grand Prix.
Hasta la vista, folks.